I was going to say, though, but with Golden as the last name, there's potential there. I don't know if Golden Showers is where we're going, but I like
there's
this.
no umbrellas in a brainstorm, Josh, so we're riffing here, you know?
We're just trying. We're trying anything. We're trying to help.
Welcome back to the Stories on Tape podcast. I'm your host, Josh Robinson, and we have not one, but two storytellers today. One of them, Love Survivor, is still trying to answer that age-old question, weapons or fist, and is a 2-time over-published author. The other storyteller claims to have co-written one of those books. We're still fact-checking that information. She also has all of your recs for skincare, and if you're an ADHD survivor like me, she is your gal for all those tips. Plus, they're always ready to educate you on the things that entertain but do not matter. It is, of course, Knox, McCoy, and Jamie Golden from the Popcast. Y'all, thanks for being with me today.
What an honor to be here.
Thank you for having us. We are delighted to be in your presence.
I am so excited. I have been a faithful listener for several years, and so when I emailed and Walla got back to me and we set all this up, I have just been so excited. So I can't wait to dive in to all these fun stories. But first, before we get to any of that, maybe we've got some listeners who have not heard of the Popcast, have not heard of Knox and Jamie. Do each of you have a story you can tell us so we can really get to know who you are as individuals?
Okay, so for me, so we are obviously pop culture podcasters, online creators for many, many years. But I would say the best story to understand me as a person is that in March of 2013, the same year that we launched the podcast, I was driving home from a Walking Dead watch party on Easter. Okay, the Lord is resurrected.
Uh-huh.
So are the zombies. And I was hit by a naked drunk driver who, upon exiting the truck he had stolen, yelled, "Sorry, lady," and he ran back down the street. He drove down and he was never seen again.
My favorite part about that story is it's naked drunk driver, which implies the emphasis was on the nudity first. And then somewhere along the way, they also became drunk. And I believe that's how it happened, too.
Yes, because like when he opened the truck door, cans fell out. Although I don't know that they were his.
Sure.
And we do know that there was some cheating and some catching. And so someone had to do a quick getaway, which did explain the nudity.
Yeah.
But again, I didn't see him again. So...
I was going to say, like, have you ever gotten any kind of closure from that or him?
No, listen, let me tell you who's going to find somebody. It's not the police. It's Alpha Insurance.
Yeah.
They're not going to pay out as much as they had to pay out for my physical therapy. Because I, like, had some broken bones, but, like, and I had a totaled car. So they had to pay out tens of thousands of dollars in all types of bills. And so they're going to find, so it was a year and a half later. They're like, we found him. We
You want to find out something. No shade to the cops. Don't call the cops. Call the insurance company. Because when our bedroom flooded from like frozen pipes, they were telling us stuff about the house no one knew. They were like, "Did you know this historical figure is buried here?" It's like, how's that relevant to my claim? And when can I get my money, please, sir?
Right.
It's just,
I just want some hardwood floors. That's all I need.
Yeah.
That's all I need. Okay, Knox, what about you?
You know, I would say. I think the best, it's a small story, but I feel like it's the best kind of example of who I am and like what my priorities are. It was probably even before we were doing the podcast. I worked at a different job where I do a lot of writing, and I didn't have like my own office, so I couldn't work at the house. So I found a little local coffee shop here outside Chattanooga, and I would just camp out every single day, like it was my job, like 8 to 4 o'clock. I'm writing in there. I'm interacting with the baristas, the people, but I'm mostly keeping to myself. And one day, one of the baristas, who I knew a little, he just misunderstood what my name was, and he started calling me Nash. And it's close to Knox. It's Tennessee, Nash, Knox, 4 letters. And in that second where he did it, I was just like, I could correct him and make it weird, and then I have to find a new coffee place, and I don't want to do that. Or I could just be Nash here. And it's not going to hurt him. It's not going to hurt me. I just kind of want to like have my routine and do my business and get my writing done. So in that coffee shop, I still am Nash, I guess, to this day. I've never corrected the record on that. So,
do you still visit this coffee shop?
From time to time. Now I have my own place, so I don't have to. That guy's moved on, but I feel like the essence of Nash still exists there. So a little bit of an alter ego that I'm okay with.
And I hope you run into him one day, and he's just like, Nash. Oh
I'm like,
Nash.
Steve, it's still Nash. Yeah.
Okay, so Jamie, we have something a little bit in common. We were talking before. A former morning news anchor in a small town
Yes.
in West Tennessee. Your brother is a meteorologist for the Air Force.
Yes.
Yes, but also doing weather stuff for Facebook, and so people know who he is.
Yes, he is beloved. Listen, my parent, all I wanted to be was the favorite. And I thought I had it on lock as the youngest. But alas, that firstborn, even like my brother, it was funny. He made some questionable choices in college. And I was like, oh, this is it. I'm the winner. He'll never overcome this. And then he went on to be in the military, get a master's in meteorology, and then works on like a top secret team. And I'm like,
Checkmate.
okay, well,
Complete
and I'm
checkmate
like,
for you.
but I'm a podcaster. Do you know about the Kardashians? And so anyway, so people know him. And so my pipes froze as they do in the South on occasion. And when the emergency plumber arrived, and I mean, we're like, you got to turn on, because I cannot, how am I expected? I'm just a baby. How can I know where the water main is? That's not any of my business, but I need him to find it because we're flooding. We're flooding the basement.
We gotta end
and he is like, Jamie Golden? I was like, yeah. And he said, you don't know Keith Golden, do you? And I was like, focus, Daryl. We'll talk about Keith later. And so Keith, I often get that in this town of like, he keeps the tornadoes. He keeps me knowing where the tornadoes are going. And so I'm very honored to have a smart, better than me brother, to be honest. Yeah.
Jamie, I've never asked you this. Does he have like a phrase, like a catchphrase that he does? You know?
No, it's maddening because I've explained to him the marketing of it all because I'm like, I can make you a big star. And he's like, what do you know about the internet? And I'm like, actually,
more
everything.
than you think.
I know all the things about the internet.
Keith Golden showers. He's like, I'm not. We'll try it out. Well,
I'm going to call him that now. I'm going to call him
a weather
that
girl
now.
here, and her name's Hannah Sky, and I'm like, that's genius. Like, did you pick that name, or did the name like pick your profession? I don't know.
I was going to say, though, but with Golden as the last name, there's potential there. I don't know if Golden Showers is where we're going, but I like
there's
this.
no umbrellas in a brainstorm, Josh, so we're riffing here, you know?
We're just trying. We're trying anything. We're just trying to help Keith.
You're right.
Get
You're right.
monetized on Facebook. That's all we're trying to do.
I love that. Yes, as I'm the oldest of four, I have three little sisters. My favorite story is the West Tennessee State Fair. There is an event called the Banana Derby. Would either of you like to guess what happens at a Banana Derby?
A banana is strapped to the back of a monkey, and then they race.
You got monkeys are involved.
Yeah.
Listen, do you know how why I guess that is because at the Alabama State Fair, monkeys ride dogs and they race.
That's exactly what it is. Monkeys riding dogs.
Is a banana like the thing that they put in front of the monkey or the dog to tease it forward?
That's
Are
a great
bananas
question.
not involved?
I don't know where the banana comes from other than there are monkeys. I have
real
no
MacGuffin
idea.
I'm sorry that I did not give Knox an opportunity to guess. I'm sure
That was
he
going to be my
would've
exact guess, Jamie, so it was same. It was same.
But we were at the West Tennessee State Fair watching the Banana Derby, and these two older women looked. My whole family was there. Looked behind them, and were like, "That's Josh." And my sisters were like, "Here it goes. Here
That's
it goes."
fun though.
And anytime
Do
we
they
visit
love
my
it or
grandmother-
do they hate it? When that happens?
They hate it because they've always been known as Josh's sisters. I don't know. I'm just I don't know what to tell you. That and anytime we visit my grandmother's church, because she lives in Greenfield, Tennessee, which is this big, and we're related to almost everyone in the town in some way. So it's and I haven't been on TV there in 5-6 years now, and still it's like and they lose their minds. They just stand in the corner rolling their
That's so
eyes.
sweet.
Yeah. It's never a dull moment when you're in
Listen,
West
when
Tennessee.
you see a news anchor in the wild, I remember my family, we saw Brenda LeDunn. That'll mean only anything to people in Birmingham. We saw Brenda LeDunn at the Cracker Barrel, and it was like a big day. Big day. We loved it.
I love that. Okay, now Knox in the intro mentioned that you're a published author twice over. Tell me a little bit about. Is there a moment or is there a story where you were like, hey, I'm good with words. I like putting them into sentences for other people to read. And then I want to share my thoughts, my feelings with the world.
I wish there was a story where someone was like, son, you're an amazing writer. You should write for people to read your words. It's not like that. It's more just like blunt force trauma, like just I will write and people will read. Because I think at the age of like 8, I started writing. I read like prolifically. I just read everything. So I would try to imitate it and write my own stories. So in our little neighborhood, whenever there was a birthday for a kid or an adult, I would write like a stupid story and staple notebook paper together and give it to them for their birthday. And they're like, awesome. Thanks for this incredible gift of a stupid story. But it just kept going. And in high school, I had a pretty radical, like, it wasn't like a conversion. It was more just like a life rededication, and started an email newsletter, like back before email newsletters were a thing.
Yeah.
All through like AOL Instant Messenger and my I guess it was, I don't know what it was, Hotmail or something. I don't know what I was using, but it got up to like 6,000 people, and it was a daily devotion. I would write and send out every single day until Our Daily Bread threatened to sue me into oblivion and gave me like a cease and desist in college. And then from there in college, after that, I would write insult poetry about my college roommate on our like dorm door whiteboard.
Yes.
And everyone just loved like coming by to see what I'd said about my friend Scott. So there's never been someone being like, this is your birthright. It's just me being like, I'm going to do this. And it's probably not good, but I'm doing it anyway, you know?
Okay. 2 immediate follow-ups. One, the stories you were writing for the friends' birthdays, were they involved in the story in some way? Were they like the main character? Okay.
Great question. That would have been a great idea. They were all kind of around normal people, and Bart Simpson was a villain because at the time I was writing in the 90s, the Simpsons were the biggest cultural threat to evangelicals.
Right.
And you can kind of draw Bart Simpson kind of easily if you're trying to illustrate.
Okay. So were there pictures as well?
Crude. I'd actually the Christmas before I'd asked for like some kind of cartoon animated drawing course because I thought I'll draw cartoons, and then I realized I can't draw, so I would write instead. And then I'll sneak in some pictures every now and then, but it won't be built around the crudely drawn pictures, you know.
I like that the beginning of the plan started with something you could not do. You're like,
That's right. I will ask for this course and teach myself, an 8-year-old boy, and by January 3rd I was like, this is not going to work. This is not happening. I do not have an affinity for this.
Can we also get the archives of the Daily Bread?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Knox.
There's no telling what that would sound like now.
And then second, did your roommate know that you were the one writing the slam poetry
Yes.
about him? Okay.
He loved it. He ended up
Oh.
running for class president, and I was his like advertise. I think I just called myself Solicitor General because I don't know what that does or that job is, but it's a fun name. And I would just do like campaign pictures and poetry about him to raise awareness. So
I love that.
Yeah.
I also ran for class president in college. I'm a big bow tie guy. I love a bow tie. And if you've seen any of the promotional pictures for Popcast, Knox is always in a bow tie. Always. So we are kindred spirits in that way. I didn't win, but I posted this picture all over the campus, and I was in black and white, but I had a green bow tie on. So the bow tie was green and the text was green. I felt like it should have done better than it did.
you would look good in bow ties. I look like a Super Mario villain because my head's too big, so it just doesn't work. But I don't know. I feel like bow ties feel a little. I mean, there's always it feels a little. I'm just gonna say it feels a little white supremacist almost. So I'm a little worried, and it kind of feels a little elitist. So I've gone away from the bow tie a little bit.
Okay.
You know.
Sure.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson left a legacy.
He kind of killed it. You know, he kind of killed it for us.
I don't know if I can wear one ever again. Now that has been, I hadn't thought about that. That's tough. Okay.
No, Josh, you're taking it back. You're taking it
I'm
back.
reclaiming the bow tie. That's what's happening.
It reminds me of an elderly man in the 50s telling people which bathroom they should use, you know? And I'm just like, that's not what I'm going for. It's not what we should be doing.
That's the vibe, not the vibe.
Yeah.
No.
Protect it. Protect the vibe.
Protect
We're
the
not.
vibe.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Popcast is beloved. Just turned 12 as of recording last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Can you give us a little history? How did this show become what it is today?
So obviously Knox's writing career continued to evolve after that, and he became a blogger, as everyone in the 2010s did. late aughts, early tens, because we just didn't want to be a part of corporate culture anymore. It's like, how can we get out of this? And so we met in a writing forum. Knox was blogging about sports and The Bachelor and pop culture, and which I was fascinated by, that a man in East Tennessee with a baby was writing 6,000 words about The Bachelor. I was like, oh, I'm into this. This is funny. And I wrote about Cheez-Its and books occasionally. It wasn't very robust. I had 7 readers. But Knox, because we met in that writing forum, he invited me to do a series with him. We recapped Dez's season of The Bachelorette. And we had such a good time, and people responded well to it. Again, 7+ Knox's, obviously thousands of devotional readers, and who circled back. And so that summer of 2013, we planned the podcast. By the way, it was going to be named Goldie Knox. That was the runner-up.
Oh.
Yeah, that's the right reaction.
We were thinking long term, with that. Smart.
Right? The Talk About, because... there had been an episode of Lost we loved, and they talked about the walkabout. So we were like, the Talk About. And then the worst name alternative, 2 Tickets to Paradise. So
that's a bad one.
Tell me, where did that come from?
No bad ideas, Josh. No bad ideas.
No umbrellas. Right. Sorry. Right.
You just do the best you can on the whiteboard. So we picked the Popcast, by the way, a name used by hundreds of podcasters. That is, it's not
including
unique.
the New York Times.
Including the New York Times music podcast. That's fine. We did it. We did it earlier than the New York Times.
We did it our way, you could say, I guess.
That's right. And so we had full-time jobs. We did it in the margins. We had 212 downloads the first day. And we were we were so pumped because we were like, we don't even know 212 people. This is a big deal. And then we kind of went from there. And so we never stopped. We never stopped doing it. So.
And I'm very grateful you haven't stopped. I've just moved. Jamie and I were talking. I've just moved to New York City, and it's a new place. I've got some friends, but it's been a very comforting constant in my life. Every Wednesday, just you guys and Aaron, and it's just I've got these friends, and I know I'm gonna laugh, I'm gonna smile, I'm gonna have a good time. So from all of us listeners, thank you so much for not stopping. We really appreciate it.
And I appreciate that, and I think that's a underrated, and that was an unforeseen thing with podcasts. We just thought, we can have fun and talk about something and provide some kind of value. I think I don't know to what degree podcasts fueled the parasocial kind of thing, or if it was partially the rise of the internet and we're all a little more isolated, then COVID happens and we're really isolated. But that has been, when I think about, the podcast and all of these things that had to happen, I think we're very lucky and fortunate. I think we've worked really hard and we try to put a lot of effort into stuff. But I think we're also super fortunate and lucky with the timing, because we rode away. Now when people say, I want to start a podcast, what should I do? And I just want to be don't, because there's a billion, and back then there weren't a billion, right? Yeah. And that's just really lucky for us. But I think that aspect of people looking for, I feel like we overuse the word community on the internet a lot, but I feel like people looking for like-minded weirdos really played to our advantage, because we were very weird, and the show was. So
yeah, that's probably our best recommendation, and I mean that genuinely, is you can't just be you guys, the news, right? You have to have a weirder approach, but then your weirdos will circle around you and they'll help you pay your light bill, which is amazing. So.
And we're very thankful. I've gotten to attend 2 Popcast live events and be surrounded by these weirdos. Yes. The most recent one, you did a snake draft of Josh's, and I was in the audience, and I felt so seen.
There's some solid Joshes. You would obviously be a top tier Josh.
Thank you.
Obviously. Yeah.
Thank you. And I got to know, so we, as a listener, lots of series. We've got the Nose Of. You brought back Urban Dictionary recently, which I was very excited about. And then you reach out to your community constantly, getting these stories and comments. And how did you decide to pull from the thousands of followers that you now have to help maybe like take a next step or like get feedback to continue making the Popcast?
I think part of it was in just basic interactions with our audience. We saw that they were very funny, very clever, and it was like we should be able to use this, or we could create good content around this. But I think even more than that, one of like our secret weapons that we've always had is Jamie has always been so engaged with the audience and so thoughtful and strategic. I don't want to say about marketing because that sounds almost cynical, but just growth and engagement and connection with the people who are listening. So I think when you do that, when you are honestly engaged, and as a company, we're all engaged with our listeners, I think they feel invested, so they want to contribute. And when you put a call out for, like, what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you at a wedding, they're going to give you a really great story. They're going to feel like you're not just asking for the cynical reason of like an algorithm boost. Like, it actually might turn into content. We'll have like a maybe a thoughtful conversation about it and have some fun with it and connect with them along the way. So I feel like it's kind of been one hand inside the other of just helping create content, but also helping foster that sense of connection and engagement.
Yeah. And our willingness to be ridiculous and to be weird, like we talked about, it really invites them in to be like, you can be weird too. Like, cringe, but free. like tell us you're weird. Tell us about the time that your mother-in-law was dying and wanted you to have another baby, and then told her son, get going. Don't waste it, Greg.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, is she talking about sperm? Oh, she is. And then she died, and we would have never known that. And now I say to people all the time, and with no context, don't waste it, Greg.
Yeah.
Don't waste it.
I do. Speaking of comments and sharing stories, I have been lucky enough that one of my stories was actually used on, I believe it was the Nose of Neighbors episode. And I was living in Jackson, Tennessee as a morning news anchor. I was walking to get my mail, and this man had a parrot on his shoulder and a small dog running around his feet. And he told me that I and our morning meteorologist Mo were the only two men he ever allowed into his bedroom. Whoa. And
that's a lot. That's
right?
a lot right there. It's not just that comment. It's the parrot and the dog too, isn't it? Right?
It was, I was 23 maybe. And I was like, I don't know how to respond to you right now. So I'm just going to say thank you and go get my mail.
Yeah.
Like, it's a weird Dr. Doolittle situation. You're like,
exactly.
Is this okay? I don't know.
And it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't.
No.
It wasn't. I gotta know, since you've now spent 12 years working kind of side by side, what's a story that involves both of you, or a story that you know of each other that you just love to tell, and it makes you smile when you think about it or tell other people?
I think it was at the very beginning, because we did. So you alluded to it. Jamie's in Alabama. I'm in Tennessee. There was a 3-year overlap where me and my family moved to Birmingham, and I guess 2 years of that we were in the same office.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we were for the first one. But at the very beginning, when I was like, man, I think this could actually be good, or this could be something, we were talking. I don't know how we got to it, but we were talking about the TV show Nashville with Connie Britton.
Yes.
And in the show Nashville, Connie Britton has 2 daughters, played by, at the time, I mean, it's Lennon and Maisie. They were kind of like musical children on YouTube. So it was kind of a pretty big deal. But they would have songs every now and then, and they would have to act. And I remember in one episode we were talking about, and Jamie was just like, the little one sucks. She's not a good singer. She's not a good actor. She brings the show down. She's got to go. Replace her, kill her off, don't care. And I was just like, I like these takes. These are fun. I can do something with that.
Listen, I do get into a lot of beefs with children on TV. I don't know why. I've been in a long-held beef with Millie Bobby Brown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Millie Bobby Brown Bon Jovi.
That's right. Please respect her whole name.
Thank you. And but again, I would argue we didn't need both of them. We only needed the oldest one.
Some people are like, save the children. Jamie's like, let's save them, but critique them as well. Let's be honest. Let's give
You're
good
on my
feedback.
TV? You're on my TV? All bets are off. All bets are off. Okay, so speaking of that, we worked together for 2 years. My favorite Knox moment, although it is competing with Knox recently told me, again, having known him for over 14 years, he just told me that he was born with only 31 teeth and that he just didn't have a tooth. And so I didn't know that. That was fun. But it's actually in that office, we were working in a co-working office, but we had our own like individual office. It was me, Knox, Aaron, who's on our team. We were in this big room. And then one day, Aaron and I came into work and Knox's desk just seemed real light on stuff. Like some of his stuff was gone. And he came in and he was like, oh, yeah, I rented an office, a solo office down the hall.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, when? What? Oh, it's been in the works. He said, I got to work on this book and I got to focus. And so if that tells you the difference in an introvert and an extrovert, where he's just going to go, like the ghosting from just an office. He's like, oh, I don't work in here anymore. Or did I not tell you?
I don't see it as ghosting. I see it as efficient departures, right? Efficient departures.
It is efficient departure. Yes. No, that's accurate.
I'd been working in a laundry room. That's where I was recording at our house.
Sure.
And then we're like, let's get an office. Cool. So we get the office, we're recording in there. I hadn't thought through, like, when we're not recording and we're working on stuff, what's that like? And it's good chat, good conversation, good chatter. But you can't always work with good chatter.
He's sweet to say. He's very sweet to say, like, oh, she does not stop talking. Like, she just keeps on talking, and I really need to figure out the sentence. And so it's fair. It's fair.
I see myself in both of you, and there are days where I'm like, I need to focus, and there are other days where it's like, we're just going to chit chat. We're just going to sit here and talk and not get anything done.
Listen, sometimes you just want someone to read TikToks to you and tell you what they're about. That's
true.
That's what I tell Aaron, so it's fine.
Yeah. And some good stuff came out of just like we're chatting, we're riffing and everything.
Yeah.
But I was like, sometimes I need silence, complete and utter silence.
Right. Fair. I didn't take it personally.
And what has it been like watching your audience grow over the last 12 years and getting that more interaction and the live shows and everything? Because we've got even an episode on the Popcast of a behind the scenes of creating a live show, which was incredible and so cool, and I loved it. But is there a moment where it kind of all clicked? Like you said, Knox, Jamie's hot takes, you're like, I can do something with this. Was there a moment where you were like, wow, people are actually listening and engaging with us?
For me, I think, because we made it for a long time without, it felt like it clicked with some listeners who would email us or who would respond on social, but we weren't making any money. And so like, it wasn't something we could keep doing at that point. And so we came together, we actually met like at a Starbucks in between our two homes and like just camped out annoyingly to all the other people. And Knox brought like a mini whiteboard and some index cards. And we were like, okay, let's have some goals and let's figure out how we can actually make a living doing this and make money, but also continue to grow this audience. And we really asked our audience at that point to share, which, by the way, don't wait years to ask your audience to share the content that they enjoy from you. But when we started doing that, we made these goals, and within 8 months of that year, we reached all of those goals. And one was also asking our audience to come in and support us in a membership capacity. And I think, to me, that is, when we did that in 2015, I do think that was such a critical moment to go, oh, they're invested in their time, but they're also willing to like support this small business with their wallets, which I think that's just, and they've continued to do that. I mean, we started with, I think we had 61 patrons members that first month, and we now have over 11,000. And it's just because Knox really made it a priority, and he has in all the content production that he's done. He's always made it a priority that we over deliver. No matter what we promise, we're going to over deliver. And I think a lot of times people treat those spaces and their audience like, hey, would you tip me? Would you just give me a tip for doing this? And it's like, no, but what if we could do it a different way? And I think that's why, because of that vision that Knox had, that we've been able to sustain when others have not, for sure.
I love that. I'm a Friends with Benefits here, so I am
Thank
supporting
you.
100%.
Service. Yeah.
I love it so much. It is, and like I said, it's just been such a like nice constant in my life over, I think I started listening, shout out to my friends, John and Caitlin Frizzell. They are the ones that showed you to me back in 2017.
Best
and
people.
I have just been faithfully listening ever since. I've gotten my mom on the Popcast and Faith Adjacent now. So we're spreading the news and absolutely loving it. So you announced on your AUA last week that you were starting to grow a little more. Can we talk a little bit about this new era that the Popcast is getting into?
Yeah, we're really excited. It's for so long we have been pretty focused on just pop culture in general, and part of that was strategic of like this gives us a lot to talk about, but also I think our interests just naturally go to not just movies but TV, but celebrities, but books, and all these different things. And along the way, we have always been huge readers, but the podcast, as like in its current form and iteration, just isn't a great place to like talk books in detail. So you kind of got to zoom out or talk very vaguely. But Jamie's reading a lot. I'm reading a lot. Erin, who Jamie mentioned that we work with, she's reading a ton. So we started thinking about what would it be like if we launched a literature, a fiction focused, a book focused kind of podcast project where we can dive a little deeper, and the people listening and engaging with it know the deal and know not to expect like celebrities or TV or movies. And there's a huge book audience on the internet, and we're like, if we're doing all this reading anyway, we might as well turn it into content and try to build a community around it, because that is one of the coolest things about book readers. In what Jamie and Aaron and I were all talking about was there's so much more of a robust community with book readers than there is any other genre of pop culture. And if we could access that selfishly just to get good book recommendations, we're like, if that's all we get out of this, that's a pretty good thing. So
that's a huge win. So we're excited because the three of us we like our reading taste does occasionally, you have the Venn diagram that crosses over, but we really are in a lot of different genres. And we just, listen, I just really wanted a dedicated space so that I could talk about book talk drama and bookstagram drama. That's all that all a girl wants is a place to talk about how psychotic people are on the internet when they're talking about books. I love it. And so we're very excited. It's called Shelf Respect. And the launch is September 5th, so we're very pumped.
That's so I was so excited. I missed it live, but I got to rewatch it, and so I was so excited. I have recently gotten back into reading, and I'm very excited just to see to hear your hot takes, because as we know, Jamie has a lot of them. So I can't wait. I can't wait.
What's your go-to genre when you're reading?
Oh, recently I I just read Pretty Little Wife, which is like a fictional true crime.
Yes.
But it has like a hard, like unexpected twist at the end, which I really was not expecting. And then I've done like Red, White, Royal Blue, boyfriend material, husband material.
Obviously.
So that's kind of where I am right now.
Okay, you're in a great, murder, marriage. Love it. Yeah.
They go hand in hand sometimes.
Undefeated.
Yeah.
And so I want to pull a little bit of the Popcast into this next question. Can you give us why you love storytelling? Because I think you both do it. I think we all do it, whether we realize it or not. But are there some red lights and green lights of storytelling that you would recommend to other storytellers?
Okay, so to me, storytelling is really about connection. I'm not the first person to say that. If I am, trademark. But it's about connection, because what I love about reading, what I love about movies and TV shows, so many people can really consider those lesser arts. And I just think, wow, this is how so many of us get proximate to people, cultures, ideas that are so different from us that we may not encounter in our everyday lives. And so I love that it creates that connection. I think a green light of storytelling is being as honest and open as you can about those stories. I think that's what makes a more interesting rom-com. It makes a more interesting action film, like to have a component of that in the entertainment, built into the entertainment. And I think the red light of that would be whether you're telling your own stories when you're just going safe. Like, I think when you're telling a story, don't be afraid to listen, we love to self-deprecate because we're weirdos. And what you're going to find is when you open up that weirdness, the weirdo in the room that's listening to your story or at the table or at the book club or wherever you are, they're going to feel because they're like, oh my God, they're weird like me. Because for a long time, I never told people that I read fan fiction because I was a little embarrassed of like, can I not let go of Star Wars? Why am I being so weird? And then I mentioned it on a podcast years ago. And I got so many DMs were like, oh my God, me too, me too, me too. Like, it was like we were in the secret club. And then now it's like, guys, have you read the really sexy Hermione? Let me give you my Rex for all the sexy Hermione. And so it just, and that makes you feel more at ease with your own weirdness, which I love.
I think to piggyback off that, I think one of the biggest lessons I learned from somebody I used to work for in a writing capacity was he would always say that humor breaks down walls so that truth can enter. And whatever that specific brand of truth is, can apply to however you want it. But I like that idea of, I think in a lot of different situations, we're either manipulated just to be like completely entertained by a story, or we're in a different setting where we're just being given information to learn. And I always think the best versions of those two worlds are when someone blends both. You can go Jesus with his parables, telling a story to try to get to a point, or like your favorite English teacher who isn't just like reading Macbeth with you, but is explaining and giving context and understanding to why this scene in Macbeth is important or whatever. So I think it's that ability for a story to have heart, to have humor, but also some kind of value or inspiration to it, where you can take away something that maybe you would have rolled your eyes at in a different context, or wouldn't have mattered, but there's this kind of osmosis of truth that you can absorb in a really beautiful way without it being annoying.
You both are so good at what you do. Those were, I love talking to people.
Checked
it's
in the
so
mail.
much fun.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Knox is so spiritual, but it's all that early devotional. It's that foundation that he built so many years ago.
That's right.
That cornerstone. It was laid, and here we are.
Just a golden shower of inspiration. Back in the day.
I'm never going to be able to let that go.
And trademark. Also, sorry to Keith. Now this is what's going to happen.
Yeah, it's happening.
What if? Okay, here's an idea for Keith. What if it was like just the tip of the day with Keith Golden?
Well, we're brainstorming.
No bad ideas.
No bad ideas.
No bad ideas.
One last question for you, Knox. And I added this to the rundown late, so if you don't have an answer, what's your go-to order at Great American Cookie?
Oh man, easy. It's the colossal M&M cookie. Every time. I don't even look at the other ones. I'm like, bam, right there every time. And
Are you doing a double doozy? Are you ever doing a double doozy?
A sugar cookie double doozy is
with the frosting. Yeah, the frosting in between too much.
Yes.
I don't like that. It sullies the cookie. It's too much.
It is. Oh, it's so good. It's the perfect. It's so
like
good.
It's the perfect coma to enter into.
Yeah, it's the perfect way to enter into diabetes.
That's exactly right. I love it.
And Jamie, on your next trip to New York, if you have never been to Schmackery's Cookies, highly recommend.
I'm always looking for a new cookie. This is very important to me.
Schmackery's.
We're trying to go in December with the kids, so we'll have to look that up.
It's on 45th, like 2 blocks away from all the theaters. So it's right there.
Okay, we're doing it every day. Going there every day. Yeah.
Highly recommend. Are there any other stories you wanted to share today, or anything else that you thought of that you were just like, I need people to know this about whatever?
No, I think we like to have a lot of fun We try to have a lot of fun. Sometimes you got to talk about more important things, but by and large, I think Jamie had a good observation during the pandemic, and it was kind of like there are some people who are like, I am a microbiologist now, and we used to talk about The Bachelor, but now I'm going to tell you about R factors or quotients or whatever. And Jamie was like, we should probably just stay in our lane and just like talk about pop culture and have fun versus like trying to get into is Fauci evil or not. And I thought that was smart. Stay in your lane, do your thing. You know, it's okay to adapt and evolve and change a little bit. But I think in terms of creating content on the internet or podcasting or whatever you're doing, kind of stay true to who you are and don't try to be what the algorithm or the internet will reward, and you'll probably be in good shape.
Yeah, if you're looking for long-term steadiness, I mean, now, would we be willing to develop our own vaccines for diseases that don't exist if we could make money? Maybe. Nothing's off the table.
Nothing's off
the table. But I also think that at the end of the day, our tagline is that we educate on things that entertain but don't matter. And I think there's a real important place for that. I know that there are people who are probably even listening who are like, well, what good is it if it's only things that don't matter? You've got to have space for that in your life. You have to listen. If we can't talk about how dumb the summer I turned pretty is, if we can't come together as a nation and talk about what a garbage piece of S word that Jeremiah is and that Belly deserves him, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Mm-hmm.
I've yet to watch, so
get
I can't.
on it. Get
Okay.
on it.
Okay,
Listen,
I can-
if you're listening and you've watched The Summer I Turned Pretty, come over to the podcast. We would love to chat with you.
You will hear some hot takes for sure. Well, Knox and Jamie, I'm so thankful that you have taken the time to chat with me today. How can we follow along with your stories individually and the podcast to make sure that we are up to date with everything you guys have going on?
Okay, so we're at the Popcast on Instagram and on the socials. You can go to knoxandjamie.com and find all the things we've ever loved before, all the green lights that we've recommended over many, many years. And then Shelf Respect is Read with Shelf Respect. And then you can go, obviously we're on Patreon if you want to hang out with us there at the podcast. We're also patreon.com, Shelf Respect. And then I'm on the internet at Jamie B. Golden.
Yep. And you can find me on the internet at Knox McCoy in all the various places.
Perfect. And we'll have it all linked in the description too. Y'all, thank you so much for being amazing storytellers, and cannot wait to see what else is cooking up over at the podcast.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so much for having us,
Josh.
man.